All right. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Rotated Views podcast. This is episode number 9, Rushing Through Life, and we are back at it. We still don't have the full crew, but we have the majority of the guys here. I have Gabe, Goose, and Manny with me. We are excited to be here. We have been getting awesome reviews from you guys. We've been holding rank on iTunes, which is incredibly hard, but that's all thanks to you guys. All the downloads is what helps our ranking, the ratings, the reviews, the sharing. We just want to tell you guys that we appreciate you and continue to support the podcast any way that you possibly can. And that being said, let's jump right into it. Rushing through life, and how we like to start things off is by a story. So I'll jump right in. All right, so the setting on this story is a flea market, and this, actually happened to me. So it was a beautiful Sunday morning, and people were out shopping, eating, and enjoying the weather. We were walking back to the car to leave after picking up a few items, and while exiting, I overheard a guy that was mad at his wife for taking her time in the aisles. I remember him mumbling to his son, "Your mom takes forever to look at things, always looking for a gem." The guy was genuinely frustrated. His comments struck with me ever since, and I'm not sure if the guy himself was in a rush or what the specific reason was, but his impatience was clearly noticeable. I guess the story is super short, but it was a very good example of people rushing around and not taking in the full effect of what life is throwing at you. He literally said it himself. She's looking for a hidden gem. Isn't that the point? Being a collector of things myself, I understand the delicacy of truly searching for the hidden treasures. So what he was saying about his wife is there's really nothing wrong in her doing that. I don't know if he was just an impatient person. They do say opposites attract, so she could be really pokey with other stuff, and he kind of rushing through some things. I don't know. We know, even when we went growing up at the flea market, we know how our pop was hilarious. He would literally fly through aisles. So we just grew to just let him go, and kind of we'll just trail behind him. We're looking at stuff. Well, obviously we're kids, and he was a grown man, so he's looking for tools and stuff, and then we're looking for video games. So we're definitely not looking for the same stuff. So we just let him do it. And now he was also looking for collectibles and die-cast cars and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's where that probably was. She found her niche and was probably going through whatever they have, old antiques or whatever, and that's not his thing. But then the next aisle over is probably his tools that he likes, and she's probably saying the same thing to him.
Yeah, that's probably her hobby, right? I mean, what if she had a business, or she a Pinterest or something, and puts all these cool things together, and that she has to search for these hidden gems.
Jim, having the most probably intimate knowledge of how a flea market, or this particular flea market is structured, kind of paint a picture to the people of what it looked like. Because I know there were sections of when you first walked into the flea market, it was new, and then the further you got back, it was tended to be kind of the older stuff. So there were sections to it. Do you remember what section they were walking through?
Absolutely, and that's the reason why I guess I was a little bit more empathetic to her, because how the flea market is set up. I mean, this place is massive. So they have a huge, probably about 25, 35 rows of just news, so it was 35 rows of an updated area where it was split in half of all new stuff, and then half new, half old.
Huh. Yeah.
And then there's a whole other section that is just as big, if not bigger. It's strictly just old stuff.
Right.
So you're not selling anything with tags. You're just selling, used stuff. So this is the section she was in. So I know she was genuinely looking for something, looking past the way she was looking. I know that look. You have your eyes on for something specific. It's gonna pop out to you, and you just keep it moving. It's not like you're just staring at everyone's table and you're just giving it a one, just this glance, wow, I really appreciate everything you have. We know you could you can zoom by other tables. So you make up with that time, because you see a bunch of toys and wrestler figures. I don't need to stop there. I'm going to keep going. I'm looking for silver bullion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking for coins, so I already know the guys who sell them, so you know what sections they sit in. I'm going to the old stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you need like a phone cover or phone case or whatever like that, then you're gonna go to like the newer stuff. I think it was like an appreciative thing for me because I seen growing up how my dad did it, and if there's the other thing with time. So if you go, the earlier you go, obviously the more options you have.
Yeah.
Because if you go at a later time, all the good stuff's gone, and it's literally treasure to these people.
And good stuff is a relative term when you go to the flea market. So again,
Yeah, very relative.
Right. For me, kind of going to the old section kind of allows me to slow down and enjoy the moment. Because a lot of times you go through the old, you see the wrestlers, you see the die-cast cards, and all of a sudden it takes you back to maybe a childhood memory or a good time for me. So I'm always slow through those things, not necessarily finding a gem, but I'm kind of replaying my life back through, memories of, oh, look at that action figure, or man, this guy's been here for the last 20 years in the same spot, in the same van. There's the bikes, oh, my buddy had that. So it's kind of a trip down memory lane, which actually kind of slows your life down.
Yeah.
You don't even think about it, but it's almost a subconscious thing. For me, I go back and I look at it and like, man, I go down memory lane when I go through kind of those older sections, kind of reliving small parts of my childhood.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're doing yourself when it comes to a flea market anyway, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're flying by. You also got to kind of rewind back. You have to know the reason why you're at a flea market. Because if you're just there and you're just meandering, then then I guess it doesn't matter. But from what it appeared to me, she looked like she was looking for something specific. I mean, she had those eyes, like those eagle eyes, like she's like, her head was like on a revolver, just like going back and forth, and she knew what she wanted. And you have to go through those things with a fine comb, because then the guy who's the guy's coming behind you who wants the same thing and is looking for the same thing that you're looking for, and he's gonna find it because he had more patience.
Yep.
And you're just gonna be mad at yourself. There's no need for it.
Yeah, or sometimes when you do find that gem, you're sitting there thinking, should I get it? Should I not? If I don't get it, I'll never get it again. I'll never come across it. You're like just sitting there just staring at it, but thinking, like contemplating on the purchase, or you're trying to make a deal with the person, or thinking if you come back and get it cheaper if it's still there. There's like a lot of things that go into it.
I mean, how many times have you gone to the flea market and I'll come back. When I come back down this aisle, I'll go scoot and get that. And you go back and
That's
it's gone.
there.
Gone. I'll never forget. I went probably about a month ago to the flea market, and there was this guy. He had like a bunch of Matchbox cars. I don't even know what it drew my attention over there. So I'm looking at him. Had like time to kill. And Ava went to go get a drink. So I'm just like, I ventured off on my own. And I seen Micro Machines. I don't know if you guys remember little cars with Micro Machines.
Classic.
So when I was young, I had this one favorite one. It was a blue BMW. And it was like, I probably had like...
Oh my gosh, I remember it.
I had
the gray
probably
wheels.
like 20, 25 Micro Machines, but that one was my favorite. I don't know if I lost it or someone took it from me or whatever.
Jim stole it.
I still have it.
So I found that one that was sitting right, like in my mind. I'm like, I'll pay kind of whatever because it's like my childhood memory for it. But I'm trying to wheel and deal, ask how much it was, and he's looking at me, but I'm not telling him how much it means to me. So I'm trying to play it cool, and it's like just like, dude, I stood there for like 5 minutes, just kind of just like trying to not show reaction and trying to make a decision on making this purchase. Dude, I bought it for like 50 cents. Dude, that was like a freaking jackpot for me.
Yeah.
And I still got it. And now it's sitting in my room, my very favorite Micro Machine, blue BMW.
It's hysterical that you said that because, having a play on words, we're saying rushing through life, but you get a rush out of finding these hidden treasures.
So
it's almost like bragging rights.
So then,
look at what I found, and then for the price that I found, that got it for.
So then I showed Ava. She's like, "Yeah, that's cool." She didn't know what it meant, didn't know anything. Then I showed my brothers, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I do remember. That's awesome."
When you find something too, it's funny. My dad taught me what you were just saying. When you find something that you want, you can't show it in your face because the seller's now thinking, oh, he wants this, I'm going to jack the price up because he looks like he's going to pay anything.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of like be a little bit reserved or kind of like not care when you ask the price. Yo, bud, how much is this? Yep. And you got to kind of, act not so interested, I guess. Because I never forget, it was one time, one of the, I guess, big pivotal moments of, I guess, where this lesson came from. We were at the TeiMoney flea market. It was something I won. I think it was a video game. And I got so excited. I'm like, Dad. Obviously, my dad was with me. I was probably like 8 or 9. And Dad, there's a game. They have it, Dad. And the thing actually said like $5 on it. And my dad's like, yeah, $5 to spend. So I'm like, Dad, we can get it. And the guy's like, oh yeah. The guy saw how, and my dad's like grabbing my shoulders, like, dude, calm down. And my dad didn't see the tag. I saw it says it's $5. And in my mind, I'm like, why? And then the seller did, like the move on us. And he's like, oh, that's the wrong price tag on it. That's $7. And so my dad made me pay the $7. He said, you're going to learn. You got way too excited. You want that? Let's buy it. Let's buy it for $7. And you overpaid. And we're going to go home and tell your mom you overpaid for this. But it was right then and there. He's like, you showed too much emotion. You can't give that away. And I'm like, dude, I walked back to the truck crying. It was $2, dude. I was swole. Like, I was 8 years old, dude. I mean, it was like one of those things. I'm like, oh my gosh, $2. I was thinking of all this stuff, the tasty cakes and lollipops I can buy. And $2 is a lot to an 8-year-old. Well, back then anyway.
In the early 90s, absolutely.
So let's jump into the next segment, and we're talking about rushing through life. And let me ask a question: what is your guys' your take on people, quote unquote, hating Mondays and rushing through the week, which has 5 days, for the weekend, 2 days to enjoy life?
Hating Mondays for me is an indicator that I didn't get anything, or I should have finished something on Friday.
Right.
So there's times I come in clean slate Monday, and
happy.
I'm good, happy, because I know I'm
right.
starting fresh. But if I have to go back and I'm like miserable about it, I'm like, like,
so it's situational.
It's absolutely situational. So for me, ending my Friday on a good note allows my Mondays to be a better thing. But it's not necessary. I mean, it's very situational for me. I don't know if it's I don't know. Some people do genuinely hate Mondays.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
And there's an extent where there is like the natural human, I guess, reaction to being so relaxed coming off the weekend, and then you getting thrusted into just working. And depending on what your line of work is, that can be a brutal reality. But then you start to get the thought that I just think they hate the Monday because it's the first day they go to work.
Yes, exactly.
It's not that it's Monday. Goose, you're a barber, right? You're off
on Mondays.
Right. So I'm sure there's barbers. I'm not saying you. I'm sure there's barbers out there that hate Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst day for them.
Because like you just said, some people see it as the first of 5 days to come that have to work.
Yeah, it's I guess some people see it as like this is brutal. I got 5 of these to do. And then you have the other people who genuinely love what they do every day. And I've never heard a peep from them. Ever. And then you start to think about it, it's like, dude, this guy never complains about work, ever.
That was the version that actually I was thinking of about this question, was that you're not passionate about what you do during
5
days a week. Is that's why you hate it so much, because that's why you're so much in a rush to get back to the weekend, because you just want that time to relax or do whatever you feel like you want to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to being required to, be in an office or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said. There's 5 days that we're trying to shove our life through and digest it as fast as we can just to live 2 days. Like, the equation doesn't even make sense, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so you look forward to not producing anything, right? Because when you're working, you're producing a product, you're producing a service, you're producing something. So basically, you just want to be just a blob. That's what you look forward to. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what the thought process is, but when you start to break it down, you start to question it when you get deeper and deeper, and like, so you basically want to do absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you right now, there is nothing fulfilling about that. You can take off an entire month, and you'll start to say like, all right, well, I kind of feel like I need to get back in the swing of things. Or people do this with, working out. They'll work out for 5 months and then they'll stop for a month or two. And what do you think? They feel good? No, they feel terrible about themselves, and they just want to get back into the groove of things. There was times where it was a Monday and couldn't wait to get in because my weekend was so just nothing. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the vacation. You ever, after a week and a half, like, I'm off for 10 days. For me, a lot of times it's like day 7.
You're ready to get back to
All right. I was like, I could go back. Like, you enjoy this, you're ready to go back. So, for me anyway, a lot of times day 8 and 9 is like, okay, All right, let's go back. So you're absolutely right. I don't even think a lot of people wouldn't even need a month. It'd be like 2 weeks, and you're just all of a sudden you're just looking around.
We were created to produce, literally, like we're meant to work. Especially like if you're young and healthy. I understand like there's health issues, there's other things going on. Goose, me and you were talking about this guy Anton Creel.
Yeah, I was just about to talk about him. How he how old was he when he retired?
27 or 28?
27, and then he took 14 months to travel the world, and he did nothing. After that 13 months, he was like, I'm bored of just doing this, of doing nothing. So he went back and created some things for work-wise, but think about having 12, 13 months off of doing nothing, traveling the world, sitting on the beaches, like the best beaches in the world.
All the money in the world.
All the money. He has all the money, and you get bored of just doing that, too.
And you would think that's kind of scary when you say that. He's like, dude.
And he's 27, 28 years old, so that's like young, yeah.
Has money, made it, quote unquote, is successful. I think he worked for the biggest banking companies you think of. That's who he worked for, all three of the big guys. And this dude was an absolute stud at what he did. But he taught, and if you hear him talk, it almost was like sad. Dude, people want to, they can't wait to do this after 45 years of working.
Yeah.
They can't wait to do what this guy basically did an experiment on, and he was genuine, and he was young, full of energy. You wait till you're 75 and you don't have the same energy as you do when you're, 35 or 30. This guy was 27. And he came back and worked harder than ever. So, and there's something to be said too, when people take sabbaticals and vacations. Like, I know people need breaks. It's not taking away from that, but it's the constant crave of just your whole goal is to not do nothing. Like it just doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Even if it's volunteer work or helping out like a shelter or something like that, or visiting another country and donating your time. So there has to be something, dude, because literally just sitting in the backyard and watching your grass grow or sitting on a beach. I'm telling you, the reason why that's so attractive is because you have so little of it.
Yeah.
And the reason why we like flan in the Spanish culture, right, is because it's such a rare dessert.
For us here.
For us here in the U.S. So when we have it, we're like, oh my gosh, or it's so amazing. But it's only because we're having little pieces of it and little segments of it and getting taste of the heaven, right? But if we had that every day, we're just kind of like,
too much of a good thing.
Right. And it's like when we had friends over growing up. You eat this every day, rice, beans, chicken. They couldn't believe it. And I'm like, oh gosh, we're having rice, beans, chicken again, right? But to them, and I'm looking at my buddy Chooch, who we just had on for episode 7. Go check that out. His mom, oh my gosh, she made the best pasta and meatballs, and it was like, I'm like, dude, you eat this every day? He's like, yeah, dude, it gets tiring. I can't wait. Is your mom cooking this week? He's like, and I honestly think it's because we also had an episode called "The Grass is Always Greener." Is the grass greener is what the episode was called. And we kind of talk about that. Is like, it's just this thing. I don't know if we make it up in our minds, or is you want what you can't have, and this is the goal. Like, you bust your tail off for 40 years plus, and just sit around while you're old.
Right.
Because that goes back to the weekend. It's like that you don't have enough of a weekend. So of course, that's what you want to do all the time. Is just have a weekend.
That's true. Yeah.
And then Monday just becomes a routine. And then your weeks become a routine.
Yeah, exactly.
And next thing you know, you're just out of a whole month, you have 8 days to yourself.
Right.
And then you're working 4 weeks.
Right.
I worked with Jim's father-in-law, dropped a bomb on me, and how he said it and framed it was kind of in passing, but he left me standing there, and it might not be so profound to anyone, but he's like, listen, man, I had 3 kids. He's like, I was shuttling, one kid to baseball, another one to softball, and carrying the other one on my hip. He's like, he's like, at the time, I hated it. And he's like, fast forward now, he's like, I long for those days.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, like, what are we rushing for? Like, he made me stop in my tracks, like, because I'm going through it right now, and Jim, you'll go through it. And, Gabe, hopefully you'll go through it, and when you get there, he kind of just told me, without saying it, he's like, you need to stop and smell the roses. Like, enjoy the fact that you're there. Enjoy the fact that they're playing baseball. Enjoy the fact that Layla's crying and you're trying to watch the game and your wife's yelling at you, taking this one to the bathroom. Like, laugh at those things because he said he's like, in time, you're wishing for that. And I just sat there like, damn. Like, he dropped the bomb on me. I was like, that's awesome. And from then, I've enjoyed going to the games and kind of laughing at those little things, because my daughter pisses 15 times a game, knowing damn well she really didn't have to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And screams out, like, Mom, I got to poop. And it's like, oh, it's embarrassing. She's like, did she go? She's like, no. So back and forth. So I can laugh at those things now. But he told me, he's like, I wanted to rush. Essentially, he didn't tell me that, but he's like, he was rushing through it. And then at the end of it, it was like, for what? And it was crazy, super profound for me anyway.
I don't know if y'all remember that movie Click with like Adam Sandler.
I stopped after Billy Madison, man.
But I mean, it was like 10 years ago. I forget how long it actually was, but that was essentially the point. It was that
the rewind button.
Yes,
I remember.
Remote control
Yeah,
was that he was so busy trying to do all the stuff.
Right.
He just wanted to fast forward through all the stuff, and eventually he found out that when it became automatic, he missed all those things, and he was an old man and couldn't even go back to any of those things. So
I actually should watch that movie now. I'd probably have a different.
It starts off kind of funny and becomes super serious towards the end of it. So. Just an FYI.
I mean, that's how memories are created.
Yeah, absolutely.
When not to be cliche, you stop and smell the roses, but that's what creates the memories. There's this awesome quote that I'm going to absolutely butcher right now, but it was like, we didn't even know we were creating memories. We were just having fun. And when you actually enjoy and having fun, that's when the memories are creating. Yeah. When a lot of the times where I guess I botched what could have been an awesome memory is because I'm literally rushing.
Right. Absolutely.
And we're, going to last week's episode, even talking about not even paying attention, right? That all kind of like ties in together, where how we ended that episode was the Brandy Norwood quote. She said, your children can be around you all day, but if you don't spend quality time with them and you don't pay attention to them and talk to them and listen to them, it doesn't matter that they're just around you.
Sure.
True.
And so that kind of ties into like, we're just rushing around, can't wait. Like, like you're saying, like taking this kid to baseball practice, taking her to dance, and we're all over the place, which leads me to the dad life segment, which is, are we rushing our kids around and rushing them through life to grow up too fast? Or I don't even know if it's growing up too fast, or just to get through the schedule or something. I don't know what it is.
A lot of times you just want to get through it. You just want to, as a parent, like sometimes there's been portions of this baseball season where like, gosh, I just kind of want to get through it. Like I need time for myself.
Yeah.
When you should be looking at it and be like, oh, enjoy those times. You'll get to it. Guess what? Your house isn't going anywhere. Right. Your son being 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's gonna fade. Guess what? Your house will still be there. The honey-do list will still be there. It'll never go away. So I mean, there absolutely is a portion of that just dying to get through it, unfortunately.
Yeah, the ironically, it's the only form of investment or asset that you can't get back. Right? And we talk about this all the time, and here we are, bamboozled with the day and the schedule. And I think there's also something to be said about overscheduling things, where we don't even let things pan out or even form or develop into something else. And here we are sucking down the next dance class and, signing them up for soccer, and this season's not even over with. And I'm just curious, and I'm sure there's probably like a child psychologist out there somewhere, head spinning right now, his or her head spinning right now, that's saying, yeah, that's possibly not the best stuff we should be doing. Yeah. Because what's it teaching the kids? That you have to be a complete maniac at all times to get things done? Maybe. And I don't know if that is the right or wrong answer. It could be the right one.
This begs the question for me is, a lot of times I feel like we're rushing, as in my particular frame, because we aren't necessarily organized. When you're not organized, you're steady, like you're always off balance, so you feel like you're being rushed through everything. If I had my week kind of planned out and knew what I was doing, and meals were kind of pre-made and everything, I think it'd be easier. But I mean, parents are so caught up in either working extra hours, I couldn't get to dinner, and just kind of catching up with everything. Maybe have to rush through it to catch up sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're organizing yourself, maybe the rush isn't as bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to try to balance out the time.
Right. Absolutely.
On things.
Mm-hmm.
It could go the other way. You could be so organized that you put more things into your schedule.
You're right. You're right. How many times have you put in 10 things and maybe 3 got done? It was like, really? Was that plausible?
Yep. our dad, he worked so much and he did so much for us. And as we grew up, that's all we saw was like his work ethic. How he had 2 jobs, 3 jobs, went to the flea market on the side on the weekends, and he worked and worked and worked. And then when we got older to take care of ourselves, and him and my mom got to an age where they got to enjoy life, that's where things got cut short. So now it's like when they were at the age where they were supposed to enjoy their time, and he focused on us so much that he didn't get to enjoy his probably his goals or his dreams or whatever, just due to like circumstances. But like it's so then now I see that in my like the age that he passed, and I see the age I'm at now, and I feel like there's like a bunch of stuff that I have to accomplish in between that time frame, which what I want I can do from now till I'm 80, but in my mind I feel like what if things happen and life does get cut short and I didn't get to do this and do that. Like I don't know if it's like me being selfish, but it's like that's what I saw, and I feel like he took his time and he wanted to do things right for us, and then he didn't get to enjoy anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's selfish. I think everyone has a right to see and view life as you please, and how you operate is how you operate, and you're the only person you really need to satisfy when it comes to you yourself. Obviously, the parents out there and caretakers and stuff like that. Obviously, you have other responsibilities, but what I'm saying, when it comes to you fulfilling your full potential, we talked about this all the time. We never wanted to just save our golden days or our glory days or our highest of highs until we retired at 75, 80 years old. It made no sense because, like you just said, who's to say that we're guaranteed to even live that long?
Yeah.
Right? Our father died at 54 years old and had probably more energy than any other 54-year-old person that I know. Yeah. Just out of nowhere, boom.
Yeah, so like, my thing is, like, what if I'm rushing in through all these things in the next, like, 20 years, and then I hit that point that I have in my mind, and then I have nothing else to do after that.
Oh,
when I surpass it, I know there's plenty, but I'm just saying, but I'll be rushing into things, through things, to get to accomplish those things that's in my mental number in my head.
No one ever frowned upon someone who overachieved. So, I mean,
True.
You're going to always, and it's better overdoing stuff, obviously not, killing yourself along the way, but there's a weird balance on how you also calculate what you're doing, right? So, for example, if you are, constantly doing something that is putting your life in jeopardy so many times, like you're skydiving every weekend, then you're putting, there's a percentage, there's a likelihood that you may not last until, I mean, you could, but it's just risky. Whereas if, you wanted to do, run a marathon every other weekend or go rock climbing 3 times a year or something like that, then you're kind of like, you're still fulfilling your stuff, traveling the world. You're still accomplishing these things, but it's kind of like an organized, calculated way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's the rush though either. I think it's kind of how we're talking about, careful, strategic planning and accepting the fact that you're a grown person and you're here. We're supposed to be producing something, right? Yeah. People are so. I think we're in this like lazy mentality that we deserve to have a vacation or something like at all times, and every time there's a weekend, I work so hard, I deserve to basically be completely obliterated every weekend, which makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, it's not that you deserve it either. It's that maybe you earned time, whatever. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer saying like don't celebrate life, that's completely not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if that's the mentality, I just think it's a wrong approach.
I think it's thinking about it, the mentality too. If maybe you are rushing through it, right? Maybe you are, not enjoying it. But if at the end of the day or at the end of your time, you can look back and say, man, I had a good run, man. I gave it hell. That's a life to be, proud of rather than just being a blob or not being that productive person or being miserable. Mm-hmm. Maybe you are rushing through it. You know what I mean? Maybe you are kind of not stopping and smelling the roses. But again, if you can look back and say, hey, I got everything out of my life I could, then, who's to say that rushing's bad? You know what I mean? to flip it on, to flip it from the other side. We're saying like slow it down, don't rush.
Yeah.
But man, maybe you want to get all these things in and have all these experiences and say, I accomplished this much, or at least I did this much. That could be fulfilling for somebody to be rushing through all that just to get all done,
Absolutely. I also think it's not necessarily rushing in general. I think it's like the quality of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So if you're rushing and you're not, it's just like you don't even know what happened because you're doing it so fast. That's where I think the difference lies. Yeah. So you can be rushing, but you're kind of like, I feel like my life is a boom, 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 which is nonstop. And I try to, I guess it's like we were saying before, scheduling. And
it's done in an organized way.
Yeah, in an organized manner. So it's overwhelming. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're doing this. And everyone here can say that too about their schedule. I'm just talking about myself. But I think if you don't kind of rush, which let's not take away the rush or confuse it with the hustle, and combine them two and kind of understand that if you're not doing that either, if you're not hustling and rushing or whatever around, then how do you even know what you're actually capable of either? Yeah. Right? How do you know what your true potential is either?
Right.
So yeah, there is something to be said on the reverse side. Absolutely.
Hold on. The cool thing I guess you could talk about is what you've done pretty much chronicles your last couple of years between the spoken word album, the book. Like you can chronicle your life and your hustle. So you can look back and slow down your rush because that whole thing was a rush.
Yeah.
The one cool thing that you have is that, look, I have this, and you have memories all within that book. Yes, you have a piece of paper, you have CDs, you have words that'll never go away, but you also have memories that nobody else knows about, which is invaluable. But that's kind of the cool part because we can rush through things, but if you don't have those kind of aha moments or when you reach those benchmarks and you can look back and you have something tangible, that's all the better. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't have that. They said, oh, I did this. And they missed a lot of things, but you can say, I have this.
They do it right.
Right.
Exactly. And that kind of goes back to like, you can rush through life, but what value are you getting out of the rushing around? Yeah. So it's okay to rush around, but it's like for a specific limited time, like you're saying, like it took me however many months to do that album. Then I was able to kind of like lay back a little bit. So I took a month off. It wasn't even a month off. I was promoting. So that was like another stressing thing, but it was not doing the same thing. It switched up the quote unquote hustle.
Because it's like productively rushing around.
Exactly.
Because you're actually doing something like worthwhile that you're actually passionate about, that you're actually doing outside of, your regular career, which may not drive you the same way like that would.
It's called being effective. We can get busy. They always say that there's a difference between being busy and being productive. And a lot of times we're being busy. Now, what I love is when you have the beautiful combination of someone who is in a career that they love or is in a job that they love. They're highly productive. They're leaders in those positions. And then they are also deeply involved in their children's life or something like involved in church or involved in like clubs or, something like that. Like a big brother, big sister kind of thing. Mm-hmm. When you look at that, you could just say, dude, this guy's living such a quality life. That's what I'm talking about. You want to have a quality life and be effective while you're going through it. You want to be producing something. The vacations, you can set those and then you can gain all your energy back and you get the back rubs and the massages and and the relaxation on whatever form that you like. You'll make up your bodies. Our bodies are incredible. They'll recoup, I guess, from the rushing.
And you did a vacation wrong when you come back at the end of it saying, "Oh, I need a vacation from my vacation."
Yeah,
that's terribly wrong. Yeah, and we've done it. If you went to there's certain people you go on vacation with, and they have a schedule for you. Like you're at the Disney parks or whatnot, and they want to go to this ride and this ride from 10 a.m. to 11.
Especially those, it's like there's so much money to begin with. You want to cram as much stuff in there that you overwhelm yourself, and then that's when you need like a few days off just to recoup from your vacation afterwards.
Exactly. Decompress from your vacation. It's like, I need decompress. It's like, why? You just decompress. It's like, no.
Are you not relaxed?
Like, it's because I walked 55 miles in a matter of 3 days, and I
worked a 40-hour week on vacation.
Exactly.
So, all right. So let's kind of rewind this back a little bit. So going back to your teenage life, right? And kind of, wanting to grow up so fast, what would you say if you can talk to the 12-year-old Goose, the 12-year-old Manny, the 12-year-old Gabe, what would you tell him about slowing down and taking it all in? Kind of what we're talking about, but you're basically talking to the teenage you.
We're talking about, right, like rushing through life. I would go back and tell me do more.
Okay.
And that, like, because I played a lot of sports, but even then there was always something else to do, or you could always spoken to more people. I would have tried to become a more diverse person, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school you have a clique, right? There's your clique. You stay in that lane, and you pretty much live there.
Yeah.
Good group of friends. You enjoy each other, laugh. But I would talk to other people outside of who my friends were, and I would try to do more.
Can I get like a broader scope?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you go to college, there's a ton of different type of people that you meet, and that was kind of a shock in the beginning. Thank God I went to school with you, and it was we were able to kind of transition that friends.
We were not
type
ready.
Of people. No, and thank God we kind of had each other. We held hands through that, and like we met people together. But could you imagine moving in with a guy you didn't know?
Oh man,
you know what I mean. So I think that would have helped prepare me to learn about different types of people if I would have started earlier. You know what I mean? But do more. That would be my suggestion. Do more. Enjoy it because it goes by so fast.
Yeah, and I think that this one's going to tie into, I'm going to bring Goose in here. He has no idea what I'm about to say, but him and Heck started when they were like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Heck was at the meat factory. Goose was doing landscaping.
I had 2 jobs then, I was 14.
Did?
Yeah. At the meat factory, and I was doing landscaping. But I would tell myself to slow down. Like, I was still a kid.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like so infatuated with money.
Yeah.
Like, when I first started, I did the landscaping thing first. Yeah. And I was getting like, honestly, I don't even know how much I was getting paid every week. But then I saved my money, and we didn't do much as kids. Like growing up, we went to church like 3 days a week. We always kind of like stayed at home. Like our parents really didn't let us. Well, me and Heck as older kids, as older brothers, venture off as much. My mom got a little lenient with Jim, but anyway,
he was the baby.
Yeah,
so we get it.
So I didn't have time to really spend my money. So then when I had like a decent lump sum of money and I got the bike that I wanted, I'm like, damn, this is what I could do. So then for a whole year, I saved up money. I bought a car when I was 15, a Volkswagen Rabbit. I was 15, knowing I was getting my license when I was 16 the following year. But I wanted to work on this car. I needed some work done.
The white one, right? It was white?
It was
gray.
The ceiling, the cloth top was dropping down, touching your head.
Oh, it was a POS. I no doubt about that.
Stick.
But it was yours.
It was mine at 15. I used to drive it to school, drive around the block. So then as I just felt like I got that taste, so I just kept going. Then I bought a better car, and I just kept working more, and then started getting like, I don't know, just things that I wanted. But I was doing it at a young age, where like that's where most kids at 18 start doing. They start getting like decent jobs, and like throughout the summer when they go to school or college or whatever, and then they buy their own stuff. I was doing it like, dude, 14, 15, you're still a kid, really. Yeah. So I would enjoy that as my childhood more than rushing into trying to be an adult.
Yeah, but I mean, for speaking on that, I mean, coming from our family, that was kind of, you were cheered for that. You were celebrated. Like, oh man, Mikey's going and getting it. My mom wanted me to get a job at 15, and my dad told her no, he's not allowed, because at 9 my dad was selling snow cones. He's like, I spent summers selling snow cones. He's like, I don't want my kids to work until they have to. So I mean, for our family, like, to be 14, 15 and working, like, you're celebrated. I remember, man, Mikey, he's earning everything he gets.
Well, that's just what we saw. Like I said, like our dad, like my mom always worked. My dad always had 2-3 jobs. That's just what I thought what you had to do. If you had an opportunity to work, just work.
Right.
Like I didn't really. I fell off playing sports because I couldn't even afford sneakers, like the team sneakers. So I'm like, I just wanted to work. That's all I was kind of taught. It wasn't drilled in our head. It was just what we saw.
Right.
So we just did.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, my experience was a little bit different. I started working when I was 16, and I wanted to work earlier. So because we were talking about this what we saw and the example that was given to us, it was never even talked about.
No,
it was just literally we saw it, and I was already making money on the side of flea markets and stuff like that. So I was working with my dad literally since I was 8. But that's not work. That's not like a part-time job. We would go like every other weekend in the summer. So I kind of knew what money can get me stuff and what I wanted, and I appreciated it. But when it came to fully committing to, you know, like a full-time or a part-time job, my mom had it, like, basically, I had applications in my hands. Like, oh, I'm going to go work, whatever, like at the movie theater, or, you know, like a local fast food restaurant, whatever, you know, teenagers work at. She told me no, same exact reason. She, you know, is Manny's dad and their brother and sister. And she said, you're going to work for the rest of your life. Enjoy your adolescence. Take this in. You're going to go, you already made a decision that you're going to go to college. You don't know where. At that moment, I didn't know where. But she was like, just take it all in. We all work so early. You saw your brothers just start work early. But you're going to have the opportunity to do that. Slow it down. Never forget, dude. I just went in my room just crying, dude, like a big baby. Because I wanted to earn my way. I wanted my own. I didn't want to, you know, ask my parents for anything. I wanted to, you know, come home one day and like, Mom, I went school shopping by myself with my own money, which I eventually ended up doing, but that wasn't until like my senior year because I was 16. Shit, all right, you can have a part-time job.
Yeah, and that's what I would change for myself. I wouldn't have worked as early. I would have enjoyed being a kid.
Yeah, ain't nothing like having $50 in your pocket though, because while I was broke, $10 try to have that stretch for the week.
Yeah, but then you're 15 years old. You're the only one that has money. You're hanging out with your friends. Who's paying for everyone?
Yeah, and they're all
that's working.
Well,
unless you had well-off friends.
Well, yeah, true. Or that.
Yeah.
So, Jim, what would you tell yourself? Or Gabe, what would you tell yourself?
I'll say for me, I was always a more reserved child. It took me a lot more to open up to like even like the friends I had was like almost like convenient because you know the kids around you kind of talk to them the easiest. But even then, I was always a lot more reserved, even like kind of opening up to gain those more friendships. It was like, and just being open to getting out of my comfort zone, I guess you could say, especially like in grade school and stuff like that. Like we were talking about like 12 and before, it was like I'll be the quiet kid in the corner and nobody really talked to me like that. And I didn't really open up like that either. So if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, listening to everyone's stories as you know, advice for teenagers, as there are teenagers out there. I don't think the message would be coming across like we don't, you know, want you to be hardworking, you know, young men and young women. I think it should be limited, and you can, I say, because that's how you develop a work ethic. I think maybe on summers you go, you know, babysitting or cutting lawns, you know, like that, something like that to make a little extra money, something on the weekend. But nothing that's going to literally take over your entire life where you come home from school and then you go to work. Yeah. And again, unless it's something for, you know, something specific or whatever. Because a lot of times after school, you're in sports and not everyone's an athlete. Not everyone's so there might be other things. I think you should have a part-time job is my end of the line thing. I think you should have a part-time job. I'm not sure how many hours. I think that depends on the person. I think that depends on the child because it might not be like at an official establishment. It might just be helping, you know, your parents out with something.
And that's what it was like maybe 11th and 12th grade. I forget what exactly it was, but it was my friend's dad. He did like a cleaning service. Okay. So it was like like he did a bunch of places, but specifically me and my friend helped him on, it was like twice a week or something like that at this one place, and it was like $50 a week or something like that, whatever it was, and a couple of hours each night, and that was it. And I was like, pretty much that gave me my money enough to do whatever I need to do for the week, hang out with friends and all that stuff. So it was like, it wasn't like overwhelming. I had to do like 20 hours a week and all that stuff. So it was like a few hours here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because also too, that age is super sensitive because like some kids want a car, right? Mm-hmm. So like, where's that coming from, right? So yeah, I feel like you should have something. I'm not sure, you know, if it's like a hardcore, obviously not a full-time job. And again, going back to what we were saying before, this is all situational. It's just for the average kind of, you know, the normal thing going on. Other people got some like, you know, things going on where they have to. There's no choice. You have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not, you know, getting into the delicate areas like that. I'm just saying, like, in general, I just think the average kid should have a job, a part-time job, bringing in something you kind of understand how working works. What do you guys think about that? Telling kids they should have a job.
Oh man, for somebody who was told to, pretty much I was taken to Burger King. My mom sat in the parking lot, and they were gonna make me the night shift manager at 16 because she said I should have worked. I was like, Mom, no. Because I could put a sentence together. They were going to give me a night shift. I was like, Mom, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Thank God my dad came to the rescue. It depends what type of kid you are. If you're not doing anything, I think that you need a job. So,
exactly.
You need to have something. So I was in sports, football, basketball, baseball. And then my senior year, I did the school play. And that's when she wanted me to work. I was kind of busy. My day started at 7 and I wouldn't get done till 9. I'd start homework at 9.
Right.
So, it'd be hard to tell a kid, well, go get a job.
Exactly.
But if you're not doing anything, why not go spend 2-3 hours doing something?
As long as you're productive in something.
Exactly.
Like, you can't just be sitting around doing nothing and just, I don't know, playing video games, like, for 12 hours a day. I mean, there are some kids that just come home from school at, like, 3, 4 o'clock and they'll play till, like, midnight.
Right.
But, like, be productive, play sports, or like be involved with the community, or have like a little part-time job. Just be productive. Like all forms teach you work ethic anyway. So that's just how I see it. Just like what I just don't, as a kid, just be a kid. Don't try to grow up too fast.
Yeah, I think you miss out on a lot of things there. So that being said, I'm gonna wrap this episode up with a quote from Carl Honore, I believe. Everywhere, people are discovering that doing things more slowly often means doing them better and enjoying them more. It means living life instead of rushing through it. You can apply this to everything from food to parenting to work. That wraps up this episode of the Rotated Views podcast, Rushing Through Life. In this episode, we discuss the fast-paced society, rushing our kids around, being impatient, and the importance of slowing things down. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by the Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.